Well, we are here today with Jim Getz. He has been a part of the community now for quite a while, and we have him on the Sprout to talk to us about their partnership that they've created between MCLETC and Richland. So, Jim, I would love for you to introduce yourself, your role, kind of what you've been a part of throughout the community, and what MCLETC is.
Yep, so Jim Getz, I'm born in Decatur, graduated from Decatur High Schools and Decatur Public Schools. Left for a few years when I was in the military, and came back to serve as a police officer in the city of Decatur. Through that 20-some years at the police department, I made it to the rank of chief of police, and then retired for a short period of time and ended up at the Macon County Law Enforcement Training Center and as their commander, which is basically the director of the academy. And so we train new police recruits, new police cadets from all over the state.
Wow. That shows me that you've really had a heart of service, I think, for the community. Because to go into retirement, to come out of retirement to do something, what was that like for you? Why did you decide to shift into education the way that you have?
To be honest with you, to me, it was a great transition. Spent my career in a uniform, whether it be military. I worked at the Illinois Department of Corrections in the Decatur Police Department, and so always around that uniform, public service, and I thought, man, this is a great opportunity for me to have an impact on the young generation of police officers and correctional officers going to work throughout the state. And for me, it's not about just we have a curriculum that we have to teach, but to me, you've got to teach more than that. You got to teach these kids, how we want our people, how we want the citizens treated. And how do you get back to the community outside of doing your regular shift that you're being paid for? And to me, that's important. That's public service. Just putting on the uniform, coming in and working your shift that you're getting paid for, that's great. We need people like that, but we also need those people that are doing that, but going above and beyond and doing the extra in the community. And that's what public service is to me.
Yeah, I love that. I know that we have had the honor to do other projects with you, and you have walked us through a PRIDE acronym that you, honestly, I think that you just exude and carry. Yeah, well, but I would love for you to maybe walk us through some of that, because you're talking about taking it beyond tactical law enforcement training, but really about the human being and how do we serve and protect and do our life well.
Well, you hit the word you use, human being. So a lot of times people in the community don't see us as police officers as human beings, right? Yeah. Because, they're kind of can be robotic because you're going to call to call to call, and you have a policy you have to follow. And so sometimes police officers are not, they're not seen as humans. And so my thing at the academy is we want people to see you as humans. So this is what you need to do that. And so one of the things that we live by out there and teach from the very day one is, as you said, the acronym of PRIDE. And so that's public service, respect, integrity, discipline, and excellence. Okay. And so the public service side of it, to me, is the most important thing, because once again, this can't just be a job to you. You've got to put the extra hours in with the community. I mean, it's not good if your community only sees you when you're out making arrests, right? Yeah. We got to do those other things. And and we do all the, and most police departments do, but in Decatur, we pride ourselves in doing, back to school shopping with the kids and the backpacks for the kids, the trick or treat events, or, just everything outside that normal 8-hour shift. But it's also, maybe not the group things, but how about an officer just gets out at his convenience store in his neighborhood or in his district, and he sees some kids coming in, and they're in there to buy, what all kids do, junk food, right? And so the officer buying that for them, things like that, or just getting out, having an interaction with them. We had officers that would get out and play basketball on their shift with the kids, and so to me, that's public service. But take it beyond that, okay? So an officer can go out and, let's say, handle a domestic call. Okay. Or a situation with a negative situation with some kids, and they can just do the report, forward it on, and let whoever down the road handle it. Or that officer can do some follow-up on his own, okay? So he handles the report on a Monday. On Tuesday, when he comes in the shift, he's like, I want to follow up on this. How is that family doing?
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can do for this family? So we've had officers do that as well, following up on a domestic in a situation where maybe somebody was arrested, mom's home with the kids, needed some guidance on how to navigate through this thing, and the officer going out on their own as a follow-up and handling that or seeing if they needed anything else. To me, that's the public service side of it. And I remind our recruits from day one, you got to remember they're from all over the state, so we hope they take this back to their communities, is when you interview for the job, everyone, myself included, when I came on I was trying to get on the police department, why do you want to become a police officer? And all of it is related to, I want to give back to the community, I want to help people, stuff like that. So I remind my officers, at 5 years, 10 years, if I see you, I'm going to ask you that same question, and I hope you're still giving back to that's your thing, giving back to the community at that point, because that's what you signed up for. So don't ever get frustrated with your job as a police officer, because that's what you signed up for. And if you truly have that public service heart, 5-10 years from now, you're still going to have that. So don't ever let that leave you. Make sure you're always treating people the right way. And then the respect portion of that's something, a lot of kids aren't getting at home. And so, we want the kids our recruits, I am very firm in that I don't care where they're from in the community, how much money they have, where they live, what they're going through, because you don't know what that person's been through. So to you, they look like a homeless person because that's what they look like, but what has got them there? And so treat everybody respectfully. And I always tell my recruits, if your grandparent or a family member called into the police, how would you want them treated? And so if you treat everybody like that, you'll never go wrong. So treat everybody the same. So on our campus very early, we make sure our recruits understand you respect the housekeepers, the maintenance staff, all the way up to the commander and any guest in between, just because that's what you need to be doing when you get back to your agency. Integrity, that's the key, right? What you're doing when nobody's watching. It's easy to take shortcuts. It's easy, if you haven't been raised correctly, to do the wrong thing when you have the opportunity to do the wrong thing when nobody's watching. And so always do the right thing. And the way I always like to explain it or tell my recruits is who is the most important person in your life that had the biggest impact on you growing up? Who got you where you want to be? And I'm assuming that person had good moral character. And if they did, is the act you're getting ready to do, would it be shocking to that person that raised you to do the right thing? So
the interesting analogy there to connect with.
Yeah. So let's say your grandmother was your person. So if you're getting ready to do something your grandma would not be happy with, then don't do it. Right. And so that's what I tell these recruits. And the discipline side of it. Discipline is something all of us use in any career we're in. You have to be disciplined to get up to go to work. You have to be disciplined to make sure your kids have everything they need to go to school. You have to be disciplined to get your job done, whatever your assignment is from the person that you work for. I mean, you got to be disciplined to pay your bills. I mean, so and for police officers, that discipline is all that plus a lot more. If you go out on a call and say the first call you go to, you're getting cussed out by somebody. You have to be disciplined enough not to cuss back, right?
Not to get triggered and respond.
You have to be disciplined enough to know what amount of force am I authorized to use here, and I can't go over that. Because that creates a problem. It's the wrong thing to do, and two, it creates a problem for your agency and for yourself. So discipline is a very big part of that. And so for us, the discipline starts. I mean, make your bed. So when they're at our academy for the 16 weeks for police, they have to make their beds. They have to keep their rooms clean, and their uniforms have to look a certain way. And some of the recruits are like, well, why is this important? Well, it's attention to detail, which is discipline, which that discipline will pay off in your career. And then excellence, we all strive to be the best at most of us do, I think. We aspire to be the best at whatever we decide to do. And so for police officers, if you're going out and handling your 10th burglary call that day, make sure that report is as excellent as the first one was. You know, excellence is everything. And so don't do anything halfway. Put 100% into everything you do. And so we want you to be a police officer, but we want you to be an excellent police officer.
Right. And I know whenever we had originally talked about this in a different setting, I was amazed at how much those can transfer really to any life, even beyond police officers.
Absolutely.
And I think it's incredible to hear that in a law enforcement agency, you're really doing your best to create not just tangible, but intangible, and how to guide these people throughout a life. Right. Because I feel like, there's some jobs you clock in and out of, but I feel like really first responders, civil servants, police officers, you don't really, it's a lifestyle that you're signing up for. And there's a lot more than just your 9 to 5 that you have to deal with.
Well, for example, if when I was a police officer and to this day, if I go to Walmart and something happens, I can't just stand back and watch. I've been doing this for 20 some years, so I still have to act. And that's just that public service side of me that says, what's going on here isn't right. If one of the store employees is in a wrestling match with somebody over a shoplifting thing, I'm going to jump in and help, where a regular citizen may not do that or feel that they should do that.
Or have the training, really, or the way training that you guys would to know how to do it.
So our officers, and as you said, first responders, an ambulance, or somebody works for the ambulance, or somebody works for the fire department. Same thing. Somebody's having a medical issue and they're out and about and they're off. They're still going to act. And so that's an extra responsibility to have, but that's what you sign up for. And so for me, I was never off the clock. I just never was. And I think most police officers have a love of their profession the same way I did. And so I feel like they're never off the clock either.
Right. Well, I would love for you to take us back a little bit. Now, at the beginning of all this, was surprised to hear that Richland had partnered with MCLETC and what Richland's role really is there, because you see a law enforcement and a community college and you think, what? A little bit. Right. So can you explain to us how MCLETC started and what is Richland's role within that?
I can. So this originally started, PTI, Police Training Institute, over the University of Illinois, they are an accredited certified police academy. And so they haven't always had the training facilities that they needed. They were getting outdated, and so they reached out to Howard Buffett, who runs the Buffett Foundation, obviously, and said, "Hey, we're in need of a new facility. U of I can't really give us what we need right now, and so would you be willing to help us?" And so, of course, Howard, I will do that, but it has to be over here in Macon County, in Decatur. That's where he lives. That's where he wanted to put his money into, and he thought it would be good for Macon County as well. And so, of course, U of I wasn't totally on board with that, and after it didn't work out. And so, with that being said, they continued to move forward with the academy. They had to get the okay through the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board to get accredited as a police academy, because U of I already had that. And so with the new one being here, we had to get approval from Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board to do that, and they gave us that. So the next part of that project is we need an accredited college to accreditate our classes. And so that's where Richland came in. And so there was really a lot of unknown at that time, because like you said, it was a community college. And at one time, before Richland came on board, we had actually reached out to Milliken. And Milliken being a private school, there was a lot of things that wouldn't work out. And so Richland stepped in, and I'm going to tell you, President Valdez, he sees things differently, and he sees the big picture. And he will tell you that this was a gamble. He really put his name out there for this, and Mr. Buffett did too. And the Training and Standards Board probably did as well. But so that's how that came about. Richland said, we can accreditate your classes. And so that's how that partnership was born. And so not only that, just accreditation, but you need to have a human resources department to hire your people.
Okay.
You have to have staff. You have to be able to feed the recruits. So everything we do goes through Richland. So the Richland Culinary Program, they're the ones that cook our food on campus and provide food to all of our recruits. And sometimes, with staff and students, they're feeding 300 people a day. It's amazing.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, especially if you saw the size of their kitchen, you'd really be impressed. So we got that side of it, and then housekeeping. You got to keep your facilities clean, maintenance, and then the staff that runs the academy, myself and my deputy commander and my director of training, and then we have all these part-time instructors. Okay. Some of them are retired, some of them are still active police, but they're part-time. They come in as we need them for each class, and so we probably I have 20 full-time staff, and all employed through Richland. And then the part-time instructors, we probably have 50 part-time instructors that we use throughout the year. And all that is done through Richland Community College. And it is a great partnership. I've said this before, they're 20 minutes away from us.
Yeah.
But I never feel like they're not supportive. Every division out at Richland, whether it be the finance department or the HR department or the president's office themselves, I just feel like we're part of the campus, even though we're a ways away.
Yeah.
And we reciprocate that. So I will reach out to the HR department every few months and say, hey, if you got new staff, let me know. Let's give them a tour of Richland, or give them a tour of the academy, because we want them to know what we're doing out here.
Right.
And so it's a great partnership. And like you say, the board at that time and President Valdez, they took a gamble, and it's worked out. It really has.
President Valdez does have a way of really being innovative, and I think being strategic and seeing down the road with decisions.
He's very strong in that, and he's also very strong in letting his leaders do the job.
Empowering the people that work with him.
He absolutely. He doesn't micromanage. If you need something, he's there, but he's also going to let you do your thing until you mess up. Then you might hear from him.
Yeah. So with MCLETC, I just an education piece, because sometimes you hear law enforcement and all the things. So the entire state has an opportunity, police agencies, correctional officers, to send their recruits to you.
Right.
And then you train them and then send them back to their agencies throughout the state, correct?
Yep. So there's seven police academies in the state.
Okay.
We're one of them. We also do the correctional officers. So we're one of I think 3 academies that offers both the police training and the correctional officer training. And so they do. The agencies hire them. Sometimes I get calls and say, how are you doing with hiring? Or how are you doing getting applicants? And it's like, that's not my role,
Right.
That's not what we do. But what I do say is agencies are having a hard time filling their slots. And so so my piece on that is every chance I get, because I get a lot of emails from kids, and I say kids, they're college kids or just graduated college or in their early 20s, and say, hey, I want to enroll in your academy. And so I reach back out and say, okay, where do you live at? And then when they tell me that, okay, this is the agencies in your area that are hiring. Okay. So then I turn them on, and I usually will find a contact person for them at that different agency. And so I kind of sometimes act like as a recruiter. So I get them all the time for Decatur and Macon County, but I've got emails and phone calls from Chicagoland area. And I turn them on to those folks. And so,
which would make sense, because I feel if I didn't understand the ecosystem, I would be like, I'd love to go to your academy. Train me to be a police officer.
And that's exactly.
But you don't realize that's kind of like the second or third step from getting hired.
That's exactly right. And so I always find out who the recruiter is for that department and do my part. And because I'm from Decatur, Macon County, and I want our police departments fully staffed with good people, and I want the Macon County Sheriff's Department fully staffed. But if you have a person that lives in that Chicagoland area or somewhere down south, that department needs good people as well. So to me, I feel like I owe to all those departments to send them people their way to become police officers.
Now, I know because I've been on the facility at MCLETC, you guys do have a few very unique things there to give you an advantage for training.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us some of the on-site things that you guys carry that help really train in better expertise?
Yeah, so we've got we got three major things that I think are a big deal for us. One is our indoor range. Our indoor range is it's connected to our classroom, basically, the same building that our classroom's in. And so most agencies or most training academies, they've got to put their kids either on buses or they carpool to the ranges, and it's a 15, 20-minute drive one way.
So they're not on site.
So they're not on site. So you're losing 30 minutes, 45 minutes of training each day to transport, get them to the range.
Right.
And then if you have bad weather, you know, I'm not, I came up in a time where we shot in the rain, snow, ice. But let's face it, when you're under those circumstances, you're probably not focused on the training as well as you should be.
Right.
Because you're like, I'm cold, I can't wait for this training day to be over. It's snowing, it's raining or whatever. So I think by us having that indoor range, one, we're taking away the logistical issue of having to travel, but we take out the elements of cold and wind and snow and mud and things like that. And so I think it just provides a better training for basic law enforcement.
Okay.
If we're training officers, they've been officers for 5 or 10 years, and they need more advanced training, having them shoot in the snow and ice and things like that, but we're just trying to get the basics through.
Right.
And I'm not saying that shooting outside in the snow or bad weather there's some training value to that, but for the basics, having the indoor range, that's huge for us. We also have what we call a Virtua 300. It's a simulator, has 300 scenarios on it, over 300 scenarios on it, and so that's where the officers interact with a screen, and the person running the Virtua controls the responses of the people on the screen to the officer based on what the officer is saying to the people on the screen. So let's say we have a domestic scenario set up. If the officers are not communicating well, we're going to have the scenario end up in a bad way, with somebody getting hurt. And then we have them do it again. We debrief them and say, hey, you've got to use your communication skills because we want this thing to end positively.
Right.
And by positively, we don't want to have to use force. Now, we don't want to have to make an arrest, but the worst case scenario is we have to use force, okay? And so for that simulator, that is huge, and the getting these guys to verbally communicate with the people they're going to be dealing with. You have to understand there's some people that are natural speakers, they're natural communicators. They could, some people can find somebody at Walmart out shopping and have a 20-minute conversation with a total stranger, right? You've always heard of those people that they don't know a stranger. Okay, but we have new police officers, new correctional officers that they're really uncomfortable talking to people. And so
for sure.
Our Virtua 300 we forces them to get out of that.
Well, and I feel like it's not a typical talking to somebody at the grocery store.
No,
these are situations.
These are situations
that are very high stress, adrenaline.
And people are watching you. You're being evaluated. It's tough.
That would be really difficult to maintain yourself enough to process how do I take control and de-escalate and do my best here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you throw in the part of it, some of these people on the screen are armed with weapons. So now they've, the officers and the correctional officer are armed with their sidearm, which is it's a gun made specifically for that Virtua. So you're not shooting live rounds. It's a laser type system. And so we can track, if they have to end up shooting, we can track where those rounds went. Okay. If you had a bad guy here that truly raised a gun on you or somebody in the public, did you hit your target? Because you have to be accountable. You're accountable for each round you fire in this trade. And if you hit an innocent person, you're probably going to be sued and held accountable. So it's good for us, the communication part of it, the decision making, shoot, no shoot, and then if you do have to shoot, where's your skill level at with that? And so it's a great tool.
That sounds like an amazing tool. I feel like it would really get you more of that hands-on realistic to the best of your ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel like even whenever you are training recruits, you are preparing them, but nothing can really trade off of what they're going to be experiencing.
You're exactly right. Once
you get into it, you're like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but I'm going to do my best to at least prepare you.
And that's all we can do. Because we can't shoot them with real guns. You know, we can't have the local drunk come in and give them a hard time, or you know, we don't want to have a domestic on our campus, a real domestic to do it, right? So we tell them, we try to make this as realistic as possible, but understand when you go to your first call as a brand new police officer and people are yelling and screaming, it's going to go to a whole level.
Different level.
Yeah.
You know, we had the privilege of doing a ride-along last year, and it was an overnight ride-along.
Okay.
So 12 hours, well, 13. It was a daylight savings night.
Oh, my gosh.
So 13 hours night shift in Decatur. And honestly, it's like you kind of know what police officers deal with, but whenever you're there, hearing and dealing and seeing it, like a totally different respect.
Yeah.
And a totally different angle on honestly what the police officers are there to do, but also the level of restraint and respect that they have to practice. Because I mean, I have to be honest with you. If somebody's 2 inches from my face cussing me out, like you do have instincts that want to kick in.
Oh, absolutely.
And to see how these officers really handled the situations, they were peacemakers, in my opinion. To really diffuse.
And they are, because I'm going to, now more than ever, just because, you know, 20, 25, 30 years ago, nobody would have ever gotten in our face like that. And their disrespect would not have been tolerated as much as it is now. But to the officers that are doing it now, and it's the right thing. If you can diffuse a situation, let's diffuse it. Because less chance the police officer gets hurt, less chance the citizen gets hurt, and the suspect gets hurt. And so that's what you want. Now there comes a time where you've crossed that line and where you're going to jail. And if we have to put hands on you, we're going to put hands on you. And so, but we don't want that. And so that's what we're teaching these kids today.
And I think even whenever, you know, you're discussing this on the show and you're trying to educate the public, I know whenever we've gone on the ride along, I think to really bring the community and the public even along so that you really understand what's going on here is vital. Especially in the day and age that we live in, and all the different perspectives and opinions and honestly misinformation, you know, because if people truly understood split-second decisions that are being made in life and death situations, I think you forget that there's a human behind that badge.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
And there has to be respect there.
There has to be. And I had this conversation, did radio show the other night, and I had said the same thing. I think police officers have came a long way. I think what we're doing at the police academies, what law enforcement agencies are doing, whether it be at the sheriff's department or your local police departments, the culture has changed to be more, to try to solve things more using words than force. And so we've done a good job with that. What hasn't came along at the same rate is teaching the people in the community how to interact with the police. You know, so I'm watching a lot of videos now where nothing would ever, nobody's going to jail except there's the suspects or the citizens just not complying with the police officers. And so I see so much of that, to where this did not have to go that way. The police officers are being very respectful. They're trying to solve this without having anybody to go to jail or use any force, but you got people that just aren't being compliant. So as much as I think the police have advanced, and they have, I really believe that. I just don't, I haven't seen this.
It's almost like the public needs to advance as well.
They do. They need to, and I say this, the public needs to be advanced in their education as far as how to interact with police. And so, you know, where does that start at, though? Does that start at the grades? You know, do you have officers in the school teaching this? Do you have them in the middle schools teaching this? Because some parents are telling, you know, if you see a police officer, respect that police officer. They're there to help you. But some are not. Some kids aren't getting that, and so
some kids are being trained the opposite.
They're being trained the opposite. So how do you fix that? And so I guess that's the big question: is how do we educate those folks, and where do they get that education at? Because you have some people that will say, we don't want police officers in the school. You know, they don't want them. And then you got some that we just want them here in case something bad happens.
Yeah.
But why can't we educate?
You're not trying to build that bridge then for even understanding of the role of the police officer, what they can and can't do, what their purpose and utility is, actually what this law does mean and how it breaks down. There can be, I think, a gap.
There is a
lot of those things and perspectives.
And one of the things I used to always, when I was in the law enforcement world, is comply, complain later. So if you have an interaction with a police officer and you just think it's unfair, don't fight out there on the street, because you're not going to win, because the police officer is going to have to do what he's got to do, right? Or she has to do. But if you felt you were treated unfairly, or, you know, hey, I shouldn't have been arrested for this, comply, go along with the program, and then make a complaint later. And the way the departments are set up now, in the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, you can make a complaint through them. You know, if you don't feel comfortable doing it with your local police agency. So there's other avenues. So I just think the education for the public really needs to grow, and I don't know how that happens.
Well, I mean, I could talk to you all day about those things. I don't want to keep you the whole time, because I genuinely do feel passionate about bringing people along in those gaps, because I feel like there's a utility that we're not able to really connect with because of our misunderstandings or honestly fear that gets fed to us. And I think it's incredible what you were talking about at the beginning of the show with pride and the different things around just a life of integrity and discipline and serving. And I think it's amazing that we have such a training facility right here in our back door.
We're so lucky to have it. And, you know, like you say, you know, the Richland being open to doing it, the Howard Buffett Foundation willing to pay for it, the Training and Standards Board saying, yep, we need another academy. We're going to certify you to do that. And then the agencies that send all their people here because they trust what we're doing.
It sounds like you were the right guy to bring out of retirement.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Tad Williams and Tom Snyder, the ones that got it off the ground. And they did a hell of a job. And my thing was, they've set a heck of a foundation here. How can I grow this thing? And over the 4 years, I think we've grown. I think Tad would be very, Tad passed away, while he was, he came, cancer hit him while he was still running the academy down here. And I think he would be proud of where this thing has gone.
Absolutely. And I think you guys have done really well on carrying, I think, his legacy.
For sure. Oh, gosh, honor. Yes.
I think for him to be a part of that foundation and leadership has really set the course, I think, for you guys.
Oh, without a doubt. He was the one that needed to start this academy. If you could handpick somebody, he would have been the one to do it, and they did a great job bringing him in. And then Tom Snyder, he's a politician. I always tell you, you're a politician, Tom. But Tom, even though he's a politician, he's genuine, and he can talk and relate to everybody. So when they were opening this academy and they needed agencies to come in because that's how you're going to keep the lights on, his ability to connect with people, that's where he strived at. And that's how a lot of the agencies started coming in. So Tad was that guy that, this is how we're going to run the academy. This is how we're going to pay for everything. And this is how, how we're going to do this. And then Tom was that guy who's making phone calls saying, hey, we're getting ready to open an academy up here. Send your people in. And
you all have your strengths and rules, right?
And so they did a great job. And then, of course, I walk into, something that's set. And how can, we got to make sure, we don't lose this thing. They put too much work into it, but how do we make it even better? And I think we've done that. I came in at a time where I had the ability and the time to make it better because they were so worried about, let's just make sure this thing works.
Getting it off the ground. I'm sure your vision, since it's off the ground, how can we take it further?
How can we take it further? And I think it's a treasure here in Macon County. I'm guessing that a lot of people don't know about it. Or what are they doing out there? For you, when you guys came out, when we took you through some of the buildings, you're like, holy cow, I didn't know this stuff was in here.
You have like a whole mini city out here.
We got the Tactical Village where we got streets and a convenience store and apartments and where we do our role playing and we do traffic stops inside. I mean, nobody knows that.
Whenever we toured the Virtua, which is basically a hexagon for the audience, it's a lot more than one screen. You're surrounded by like 7 or 8 screens. You're immersed into these, right? I was blown away by the intensity you felt just from the screens being and getting that virtual reality feeling.
Now, have you guys did the virtual? Have you been able to do it?
Go into it. They were showing us. I would love to.
We got to put you and Rich through this thing.
I would love to. I will have to say, shout out to my hubby over there. So the guy was showing us how it worked, and he actually had the person on screen shoot.
Okay.
I jumped because it feels like a real gunshot, like the sound of it.
Right.
And Rich, he grabbed me.
All right.
Look at those instincts. Protect
that's awesome.
me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. He grabbed me and pulled me aside.
Public servant.
There you go.
All right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's good. You guys need to come out and try that.
Yeah. I would love to, man.
Well, we'll set that up.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we will close out this show. Okay. I love having you on, and I could talk forever about what you guys are doing, the heart that you carry, and really, honestly, I think the service that law enforcement in itself provides that isn't really seen.
Yeah.
I think it's been an incredible partnership to add Richland, especially with leaders like President Valdez, to really come along and be a resource for you guys. Yeah. I love to hear what you guys are doing in the community.
Yeah. Working with Richland, I think, if it had been another college, it probably would have worked. But this feels like this was meant to be. It's a close relationship, and it falls in line with what Richland's already doing. Their thing out there is let's get people ready to go to work, and so that's what we're doing here. I mean, they're sending us people straight from the streets that have not been police officers before, and we're preparing them to go do a job. And so no different than what they're doing out at Richland with their truck driving program and their Enrich program and all the things they've got going out there. Their trade schools they have out there. They're doing the same thing.
That's part of the reason why we wanted to start the Sprout was to really highlight, I think, the evolution that they're taking education through.
Oh, yeah.
Because
absolutely.
It isn't only a degree, but they are creating innovative programs.
Yes.
They are going into the community.
Yes.
They are building those pathways for, like you said, workforce, trades, all of it to bring people along.
Yeah, I don't know of any other program in Macon County or in the state for that matter that has put so many people to work in a short, really it's a short period of time.
Yeah.
They're going out here getting their training and they're going right to work. So man, that's awesome. Because it's great for one, the students, but two, and you know this, it's hard to get people, to find people to do the work. And so they're a benefit to the community. And so we just feel like we're kind of right there doing the same thing, falls right in line with what Richland's trying to do.
Well, I love that. Thank you for taking the time, coming down, chatting with us, and hopefully we'll chat again.
And we know we will. Thank you.
Thank you.